Okay, I'm recording this mostly just for my own personal notes when I got to do this all again 10 years from now. You know how snowmobiles are. We got this Moto-Ski mini snow, nice little sled. It was a sled that I drove the hell out of growing up. And now I'm getting it ready for my kids, so it needs some work. The engine runs fine, but the only problem is the main drive cog has basically worn off to nothing. If you see down here, right there, it's basically balded down to nothing. This is in the middle of the project, so sorry about that. That drive cog should look like this. Nice big teeth. This one here is the one that I took off the back. I already dropped the track, so the track usually comes up back here with the drive cog in the middle of all those runners. I would just put this one on the front, but it's old. This is a 1971 snowmobile, and as you can see, it's already pretty worse for wear. So I don't think this will do it as a main driver on the front. So I'm going to leave this one on the back, and I'm going to make a new one out of this plastic compound I got. My original idea was to do 1/4 inch aluminum, do a main plate, and then do 2 other plates laminated up top to give some width. But I got this stuff here. The guy at the welding shop said this stuff is, quote, tougher than whale piss. So I'm not sure what that means, but I guess we'll find out if it is indeed tougher than whale piss. The main problem that I had with getting this all apart is to drop this main drive cog off down here. We need to undo the bolts right here. I already did this one. And so there's the like on that side too. But the problem on that side is that you have to get into the crankcase to get at the bolts. So I sat and wondered how the heck to get this crankcase apart, because it looked like there was a seam here, but I wasn't too sure. I tried prying it and there were some plastic bits that were coming off, so I wasn't sure if I was doing it right. And then I found this handy parts list that clearly shows that it was in 2 pieces. But even still, trying to pry it apart, it didn't want to go, so I wondered if they epoxied it together or something. Turns out they didn't. But there is a groove running down here, and then this is bulbous. So it does take some pressure to get it into this groove, and likewise it took quite a bit of effort to get it out, especially without breaking it. In the end, it was all together like this, and it'll be tough to get it back together again. But I used a claw hammer, just the claw part of it, just to pull it apart. And once I got it here, then I put a flat screwdriver in and just kept working it around slowly, because this is, like I say, 1971. So plastic doesn't last that good when it's that old. And I did manage to get it all the way off. So that's where the project is so far. I'll try and do an update on how that cog turns out once I'm done making it. Okay, status update. Here's the cog I made out of the plastic stuff that's purportedly tougher than whale piss. I basically just used a router for the inside, cut it down 1/4 inch, and then I used this one as a template on top for figuring out where to do the holes for the big hole and the little holes. And I also made a handy dandy template out of cardboard, just in case this whale piss isn't that tough, so I can still make one out of aluminum. The main problem that I have right now is getting this chain linkage off. This cog here was held on with a split ring right here. I borrowed a pair of split ring pliers off a friend, but they were straight and I don't have a lot of room for straight in here. So I was looking for something else to use, and lo and behold, I found some that we had. How about that? So I got it off, and this just basically slides on and off like this. But the problem is that this chain doesn't seem to have a missing link in it, or the connector link. So I can't split the links and take the chain off. I would have to take this bolt off, which of course the whole thing wants to spin, and this bolt isn't cooperating well. So luckily when I pull this out, I can still get at the heads for the bolts of the 3 bolts holding it on under here, holding this thing on. So I'm going to put a wrench on there and get at them from underneath the sled and hopefully get this off so I can put the new cog on. Alright, another update. This is the main drive shaft off of the Moto-Ski. I had a bit of an issue because, okay, so when it's in the chain case and all that, this is connected, right? And there was a cotter pin, not cotter pin, split pin. I don't know, split ring, there it is. Split ring that fit into this groove here. This gear was all the way on and it's fitted, as you can see, exactly with those grooves right there. So you take that off, and then you have this bearing. This bearing was over all the way to here, and it's a compression fit, which means it's just low tolerance and friction basically keeping it on. Tried to get it off, I couldn't get it off. I don't have a very well stocked workshop, so I ended up like putting this part, the shaft, in the vise. So this flange was against the vise teeth. Tried hitting this end with a hammer. All it did was mushroom these out a little bit. Luckily I caught it before it was too bad. So with a little filing and putting this on and off about 5 million times, I finally got it again so I can put it on and take it off just by hand. Which is what you need when it's in the Moto-Ski itself, because there's not a lot of tolerance here, because this is where it comes from right here, so not a lot of room to work with there. So we can take the bearing off now. I went to a friend of mine, he had a hydraulic press, and we just locked this up, put the press on here, and just pushed this bearing off, so now it slides off. So now we can put the new cog on. Which is right here. Ta-da. And it basically just slides on like that. And I will bolt that into place, and then it'll be ready to put all back together. Alright, last bit. Well, I'm putting it together, but I might put this at the front, because the first step that you actually do when you're replacing the main drive gear is to take these bolts off. This is the tensioner for your track. So how this works is this first bolt here is just to hold it in place, so you loosen that off a bit, and then here's your tensioner bolt under here. It just slides through here, so turn it this way to make more thread show to tighten up your track. It makes it move this direction. And what that does is it's basically your suspension as well, because under here you have leaf spring that's attached into, I don't know if I can see this, a bit of a cup here. So the further back it goes, the more tension it's going to put on this spring onto your track and give you better suspension. Now, to do this job, there's 2 things that you really do need. The first one is there's a split ring to deal with, so you need to have split ring pliers to separate them. And I think I talked about that before. And the second thing you need is a bearing puller, because on that main drive shaft you have to be able to get the bearing off in order to get the drive cog off. So anyways, I'll finish putting this together and see how it works.